Jonathon Pritchard. And with him today is his partner, Eric.
All right, excellent. So Jonathon is going to lead the charge. Let's have him join. Let's hear from the Pride app. Okay. So as you know, diversity and inclusion is a big element around the Hyper Accelerator program. So great to have Jonathon here. So let's get Jonathon going. Jonathon, how it's going to work is I'm in an elevator right now, and Christine is going to have a little bit of fun on the spotlight component. So she'll spotlight you on Zoom. Everything's recorded. We're going to have some fun with this. And you'll notice that the backdrop that I have is changing, evolving. And once I hit the top, it'll change and I will reintroduce myself, right? And that's when your 1 minute starts, Jonathon. Is that all right? Does that work for you, Jonathon?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yes,
great.
Sir.
And Jonathon, just so everyone else knows, where are you calling from, sir?
I'm in the Tampa Bay area, Florida.
Tampa Bay. Okay, excellent. So I'm hitting the top. I'm going to kickstart and let's go from there. All right, here goes. Hi, Jonathon. My name is Singh. Heard you're working on a very interesting app. Tell me more about it.
Good morning. I'm Jonathon Pritchard, the founder of the Pride app, a mobile app that makes searching for the LGBTQ owned, operated, and friendly businesses easier and safer. It provides a single platform for the LGBTQ members and their allies to connect to the community. So far, we have about 4,000 businesses listed, double that in users, and gaining traction every day.
Excellent. And how can I help you, Jonathon? What do you need help with?
Oh, I didn't expect that.
What's your ask? Yeah, what's your ask?
What's my ask? Today I'm looking for investment in the app for us to do a nationwide marketing campaign.
Got it. Excellent. So you need some capital for your marketing. Got it. Excellent. Thank you very much, Jonathon. So we're going to try to unpack this a little bit, and I'm very lucky today. During today's session, sometimes I'm like running solo, right? But today it's great. We have Mitch, we have Jeff, we have Doug, and what we want to be able to do as part of this process, and just because we have so many people here, it'll be fantastic. But we want to kind of give you feedback, right, Jonathon? Like, you've been working on this for quite some time. We recognize that when we think about the LGBTQ community, there's obviously been an evolution of understanding. There's been an evolution in terms of just the community element and how different elements have become more available, right? Resources have become more available. And I want to dig a little bit deeper and get a sense, right? Because several of the people here have invested heavily in the digital app space, and so I'd want to get their feedback. So, Mitch, do you want to kick off? I mean, what are your thoughts on this, sir? From a and we're going to keep it specifically to the elevator pitch, right? So this is a little bit different in the sense that, for us, we want to make sure that Jonathon gets the best pitch out there, right? And so if as you were listening, as I was listening, as Jeff and Doug was listening, what do you feel, what was going through your mind as he was pitching you? And more importantly, what are some of your suggestions on how he might improve?
Well, so first off, great summary. There are a few things that stood out for me as I listened. And the first is, and I'm also looking at your written description, so there's a bit of reaction to both of these. You talk about the two sides of the market, but you really don't talk about the harmony that is created in the musical sense when the two sides come together. And that seems to me to be the essence of the Pride app. And I think that can be your very first statement. Talk to that topic. It's a different way of saying revolutionizes without using the word revolutionizes.
Sure. Yeah.
Show that you can catalyze a community in a region or across many regions within this identity group, a collection of identity groups. So that's one thing. And in terms of what you're asking for and what you want to do with it, I'd like to know more about what you feel you need in order to have that marketing success. Do you have personalities involved? What kind of spend do you think you need to do in terms of attacking an individual region versus an entire country? And how would you roll out that campaign?
That's a good point. Good point. Good point. Any other feedback? Doug, what are your thoughts, sir? And
Yeah,
we're getting,
sure.
for this, by the way, it's fun. Jonathon, you're getting like global feedback, right? Instant global feedback from investors as well in terms of what they're thinking, right? So Mitch gave you some feedback about what's clicking in his mind. You know what I mean? What did he want to hear, right? Doug, maybe Jeff, if you want to jump in as well, and then we can kind of combine it and see if we can make some magic today. Doug, over to you, sir.
So Jonathan, thanks for going first. It's always hard going first, but thanks for going first. On a I guess aesthetic perspective, it was clear that you were reading. So firstly, just practice, so it sounds really natural. It's okay in this environment, but we know when we get down to the other end of this program, it needs to sound really natural. So practice a lot, and that's something. Ash asked about the ask. I was also wondering about that. And then, but I think what you can do is really show people what is the problem. Why is it such a big problem? That wasn't very clear. And why? So and two things is why you, and secondly, what are you doing to create happiness? I guess is what I want for a better word, that helps that marketplace situation that you're looking for.
Yeah. And Doug, you raise a really good point. And Jonathon, for some of the investors, and I'm just making an assumption, at least half the investors you might speak to might not be part of the LGBTQ community, right? So what I wanted to understand, and it's exactly, and maybe Jonathon, you can give us this feedback before we jump to Jeff, but is, if, when we think about locations, businesses that are friendly to the community, right? What does that actually mean? And hopefully, right? Because remember, we're investors, right? Okay. Along with doing a community good, how does it drive more value for everyone? Does that make sense? So for instance, if I'm running, a grocery store or a bar or a cafe, how does it improve outcomes from a financial standpoint? How does it drive loyalty? How does it, do you know what I mean? Like, why would I, even if I wasn't part of the community, how could I partake and read all of the details on your app and make my location friendly to your community? And how do I benefit? Does that make sense? Because there might be people that are outside the community that might want to help. So Jonathon, can you give us a little bit of color on that in terms of the, what does it mean to do that and how it might drive financial improvements and better financial outcomes for the businesses?
Well, I mean, the buying power in the United States for the LGBTQ plus community is $3 trillion. So, and it's all expendable. Most LGBTQ don't have children, so it's all money that they spend buying luxury items, buying Starbucks coffees, traveling.
Yes. Yeah. Got it. So they have the spending power. And what are some of the levers that you think? Do you think that there is a loyalty element that could be created? Right? Is that what the
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the LGBTQ community is very loyal to the people that are good to them.
Yes.
I mean, in the UK, Chick-fil-A can't get a foothold because the LGBTQ community comes out because they're anti-LGBTQ. And every time they try to open a location in the UK, they shut it down.
Interesting. That's an interesting touch point. Jeff, sir, great to see you again. Tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on the elevator pitch.
Well, as expected, this illustrious group of mentors covered most of my points off, to be perfectly honest.
We'll start with you next.
No, it's good. No, not at all. Not at all. It's great because I'm glad it validated my own thinking with regard to it. Look, I get it. I kind of get broadly that making those connections can be really useful, but then when you put it in the context of having to convince somebody to basically open up his or her wallet and hand you some very, very hard-earned and very rare investment money these days, you really got to have a hook. You got to have an angle. You got to have sort of like, when this thing goes, it's going to explode and it's going to be ubiquitous. And you want to get in on the ground floor. That's the kind of pitch you want to make. And what I heard folks like Doug say, Doug talked about, describe and talk to us about the problem that you're solving, or importantly, the unmet need. And so, if do your research, right? Find other apps that might be out there and other websites that might be doing this sort of promotional stuff. Are they good enough? Are they not kind of making that grab? How do you measure that? And what was your app going to do to completely blow that problem out of the water? And then I think it was either Mitch or Ash, basically, who mentioned about, does this create more money? Number one, in terms of value for people. And of course it does. But again, you just need to kind of quickly show that in a sentence, literally, to say it will have this kind of impact on these businesses and it'll have this kind of impact in terms of the customers. And then the other element and last element is, what about the psychological and cultural comfort component? Because it would be really, I'm sure there's loads of stuff out there for the I'd never ever get this right. Jesus, for that community,
LGBTQ or LGBTQ plus.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's just I'm fumbling today. For that community,
for the feedback, I'm more than happy for you all to say gay. I mean, it's just easier.
No,
community.
That's okay.
No. It's good. It's good. This is really important, right? Because this is what you're doing is connecting community with community. And that all over the place is exactly what social media does, right? Just by pure happenstance, people migrate toward, as they do physically in cities, they go to where their people are, right? And where their food is and where their culture is. And that's in essence what you're doing here is exactly that. So this isn't new. It's new in the way that you're doing it, which is really fascinating. But again, let's just be clear about what it solves for. Increase in value, psychological comfort, linking cultures together, and creating wonderful atmospheres. And so that's all. So those would be my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Jonathon, again, it's critically important for us, and we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to help you along the journey. Jonathon, as you were pitching, great feedback across the board from our mentors. Jonathon, what I was thinking, I put myself in your shoes. And part of this is I was asking myself, okay, if Jonathon and the Pride app is successful in becoming a directory listings component, right? Where you have businesses and people coming in together, then what can happen? Do you get what I'm saying? If you get that going and you start to build all these components, then where do you go? Right. And where my mind went, Jonathon, and this is just because I'm thinking about value creation. And again, Jonathon, for me, I want to make sure you're successful. And part of success is creating the biggest enterprise you can. Okay. Right. And a lot of us are capitalists. So that's kind of part of us. So I was like, okay, if he does that right, then maybe he might become the largest LGBTQ loyalty program in the United States. Right. And imagine if he has the largest points program, right, in the United States. Imagine if suddenly there's the blend of loyalty, insurance, and maybe even banking that could occur, because if you get that loyalty piece right, you kind of turn into a bank, right? But the idea of becoming that powerful loyalty, you know what I mean? Because that's what you're doing, right? At the end of the day, you're starting off with this listing. And when I look at the balance sheets of airlines, the airlines are actually not worth anything. The only thing that's worth something is their airline program, right? So I was thinking, how does this turn into the largest loyalty program for a community that's got $3 trillion a year to spend? Okay, that's interesting for me, whether I'm part of the LGBTQ community or not. Okay, you know what I mean? From an investor standpoint. Jonathon, does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. And in my next upgrade, that's one of the major upgrades that we're doing to the app is the loyalty program. And that will come with the next investment.
Right.
Do you see that as part of what you need to market to the business community as that part of that campaign?
Absolutely. You know, and at this point, I've only been pushing to businesses. I haven't really been pushing to the public because my fear is if someone opens the app and there's no business listed, they'll never open it again. So at this point, I'm at a push where I'm really pushing towards businesses.
Understood.
And I did talk about my, I do have a plan in motion for the campaign, and you're right, it needs to be in.
Yeah, got it. So Jonathon, if you would like one of us to pitch your idea back to you, sir? Would you like us to do that? We can.
I would love that. I would
Doug, would you like me to do this, or what do you think, Doug? Should I give it a shot? Would you like me to kick off? You know, we can. I know you've gotten some feedback. I think Doug seems to be having some technical difficulties. Right now. So Jonathon, what's really fun about these engagements is this. Number one is you get to listen in on what investors are actually thinking. Usually they'll just say, come back to me in 6 months. The other thing is you get to watch as your professors and your mentors embarrass ourselves by pitching your idea back with zero preparation. Okay, Jonathon? So that's hopefully entertaining for you. But what happens, Jonathon, you get to flip the switch. You get to introduce yourself as an investor. Okay, you could be anyone you would like to be, right? Any one of your investment heroes or actors or anyone that has money. And what I'll do, just because Doug has a little bit of technical difficulties, in 1 minute I will pitch your idea back to you. Okay, does that work? Right now, what we're going to do is we'll wait for we'll wait for him to return. Okay, I think Jonathon's back. I think he was just fixing his thing. All right, so Jonathon's back. He's got a little bit of a glitch on his side today. But Jonathon, does that make sense?
Yes, sir, it does.
Yeah, and so Jonathon, before I begin my pitch, I just have one question for you. I want to understand, like, you know, if you have an LGBTQ friendly location, how much more likely is somebody to buy, and how much more likely are they to come back? Do you have any rough idea on this? Because I wanted to understand that from your pitch.
You know, I don't have any data on that, but I mean, from my friends and the people I know, it's somewhere we would pick before we would go somewhere else.
Got it. So it definitely strikes a chord. It's a much more likely to buy and much more likely to come back right now. Is that fair to say, Jonathon? Okay. I just want to make sure I represent all the elements in place. What I'm going to try to do in 1 minute, and my 1 minute starts when you introduce yourself. My pitch actually is going to be 1 minute and around 6 seconds, right, Jonathon? And the reason for that is I'm going to make sure I say LGBTQ carefully and slowly. I'm not going to rush it, okay? So I need you to give me a couple of extra seconds if that's okay, right? Because I don't want to, I want to make sure I get that right. And so what's going to happen is Christine is going to be keeping time, but you introduce yourself, okay? And I'm going to pitch the Pride app. Now, you're also looking for funding. You didn't say how much. How much money do you need, sir?
I think we're looking to close to $1 million.
Okay, $1 million US. Okay. 1 million US dollars. Okay. All right. And I'll try to weave in some of the pieces that were brought up today. And so we're going to kick off and I will pitch the Pride app to you, Jonathon. So the way it works is you kick off, you introduce yourself, and I will do my pitch. All right. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. I'm Steven Spielsberg, and I'm looking to invest today.
Excellent, Stephen. Great to meet you. I'm a big fan of your work. My name is Ash Singh, and I'm part of the Pride app team. As you might know, there's been communities of purpose for the last couple of decades, people that are making buying decisions based on their background, their ethnicity, their religion. I am part of the LGBTQ community, and we are creating the next generation platform for our community to interact with businesses around the United States. We believe that diversity and inclusion is very important. We've discovered that our community is much more likely to buy and much more likely to be loyal if they recognize that the location has all the elements in place to welcome our community. We recognize that our community represents a $3 trillion opportunity every year. And we believe that we have the processes in place. We have our first 4,000 businesses on board with 8,000 community members. And our hope is to create not just the biggest business platform for interaction, but we hope we can build this out to a loyalty program and be the largest LGBTQ loyalty program in the United States, as well as the world. We're looking for $500,000 to $500,000 to $1 million to launch our advertising campaign to take this to the next level. Would love to chat to you about how you can participate. Thank you.
You've done that a few times.
I just tried to weave things in, and if you found value in, how was that, Jonathon? Was that okay?
It was very good. It was professional.
So no problem. I'm glad. And as what I tried to do was just weave in what Mitch said, what Doug said, what Jeff said, and package it. And I was looking at the camera. I tried to kind of bring out what you were also trying to say, right? You'll notice that I brought the likelihood to buy, the market size, okay, where we want to go, and the ask, right? So I just tried to weave in some of these elements as part of the process. So Jonathon, if you like it, we'll send you a recording, right? It's completely your IP now, right? All the feedback points as well as my pitch. So happy that you found some value today. And congratulations on where you're going. And we look forward, on behalf of the Hyper Accelerator, we look forward to being part of your journey, right? So thank you again, Jonathon. Have a wonderful day.